Good evening. My name is Brandon Harper, and I have the pleasure of being AMTA's president. I'm excited to join you for today's AMTA Sunday Selection Show, where we're going to learn for the first time the field for AMTA's 8 opening round championship series tournaments. I'll be joined very shortly by Jonathan Woodward, AMTA's tabulation director. But first, I want to take some time to say thank you for making this virtual season possible. When our board of directors decided last July that the 2021 season would take place online, I don't think that many of us had a good picture of exactly what that would look like. The One Last Time tournament was a good first step, and we got more practice when we hosted the online exhibition tournament last fall. But during the month of February, AMTA hosted 32 online regional competitions. And none of that would have been possible without the excellent work and dedication of so many people. So I want to take this time before we announce the ORCS fields to say thank you to all of our directors, all of our candidate directors, and all of our committee volunteers. Special thanks to Melissa Watt, chairperson of AMTA's Tournament Administration Committee, who, along with Jonathan Woodward, AMTA past president Will Warahay, Judges Committee Chair Andy Hogan, and so many other people put in hundreds and hundreds of hours of time as volunteers to ensure that our regional tournaments were a success. That group is now hard at work doing the exact same thing for ORCS and for nationals. And we have some exciting announcements about the ORCS tournaments and the Nationals tournament that we'll get to over the next few weeks. I also want to thank the more than 50 AMTA representatives and AMTA Representative Committee Chair Elizabeth Smiley, as well as all of the volunteer judges without whom we couldn't host a single tournament. I also want to thank all of AMTA's dedicated and hardworking hosts. And finally, I want to thank you, all of our competitors, coaches, school advisors, captains, family members, and friends. You took this leap into the virtual unknown with us, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish together. Yes, there were Zoom crashes, and yes, there were technical challenges, and we all had rounds where one judge vanished from the Zoom, but I'm excited about what we've done, and I'm really looking forward to ORCS and Nationals. And before we move on, I want to thank a very special group. I have to thank our Student Advisory Board, 17 current competitors from a diverse array of teams, some that are student-run, others that have coaches, some in major cities and others in rural parts of the country, some who regularly have the chance to compete at the national championship, and others who are hoping to do so this year for the very first time. I want to thank them for their ideas, their suggestions, and their feedback. They're your voice to the AMTA board, and they've done a spectacular job. And so with that, I think we should get to the reason that we're all here. Let's figure out who's going to be competing where at ORCS. So I'd like to welcome Jonathan Woodward, AMTA's tabulation director. Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
I am well. Good evening.
So can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to see tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. So as everyone knows, there are 192 teams that earned the right to move on from regionals to the opening round championship series. 96 of those teams earned bids to the first weekend of ORCS. 96 of those teams earned bids to the second weekend of ORCS, but that's all anyone knows at this point. And so what we have done is gone through and tried in as equitable a fashion as possible to assign those teams to 4 ORCS tournaments on the first weekend and 4 ORCS tournaments on the second weekend. And we'll talk a little bit about the pairing structure for ORCS and the team assignments for those 8 tournaments.
You know, this is exciting. You do this every year for nationals. We all tune in to watch you from your office, draw the cards to tell us who's going to be in which division. But it's nice that we get to do it for the 192 teams that are competing at ORCS. One question that I think everybody who's watching has is, how do you do it? How do we figure out who's going where?
Yeah, so what we're using this year is we're using the 2019-2020 Team Power Rankings. That's due to the abbreviated nature of our ORCS and ORC season last year and the fact that we did not have a national championship tournament last year. So we're really using that as our primary metric, and very similar to what we did with what the regional team assignments is we basically just spread those out in sort of a snaked seeding fashion. And then we look through, we want to make sure we have good geographical diversity. There was really only one or two tweaks we had to make in that regard. And we want to make sure that we don't have multiple teams from the same school at the same site. That helps make sure that we have pure pairings at every tournament location and avoids that possibility of those impermissible matchups. So we make sure that we avoid those by making a few trades when necessary. But otherwise, we go through using that metric and assign teams out to the different groups.
So I know that the AMTA board had a discussion over the last week or so and made what I think is a very exciting change to our rules. And I know you're going to talk a little bit more about that and so much more. So I'll turn it over to Jonathan to tell us who's going to be competing where at ORCS.
That's right. We've got a very exciting update to mention at the end of the assignments. But first, we're going to go through and move on with the presentation here. So first, to remind folks how the pairing process works at the opening round championship series. In round one, well, first let me step back for a moment. What we do at each tournament is the teams are sorted out into groups, Group A, Group B, Group C, and Group D, and that is based on those team power rankings. So the best 6 team power rankings will be in Group A, 7 through 12 are in Group B, 13 through 18 in Group C, and then the last group is Group D. At your opening ceremony for your tournament, there will be a coin flip to decide what side of the case the A and B groups will be on and what side of the case the C and D groups will be on. And after that coin flip is complete, there is then a random draw, but the random draw is within these groups. So teams that are in the A group will face teams that are in the D group in round one, and the B group will face the C group in round one. Again, everyone in a group is going to be on the same side of the case in round one. So if the coin flip comes up that B group is plaintiff, all of the B group teams will be plaintiff in round one. And that means in round two, there's a flip for sides. And then in round two, you have the A group facing teams from the C group. B group teams face D group teams in round two. Round three is then the intra-group round. So teams in the A group will face other teams in the A group, B versus B, so on and so forth. Again, the sides in that round are determined by a coin flip. So half of each group will be plaintiff, half of each group will be defense. And then in round four, you have the A group facing off against the B group and the C group teams facing off against the D group teams. So again, at each ORCS, this is basically the template we have where you have 6 teams in each group, A, B, C, and D. And again, these are determined based on those team power rankings, the very best team power ranking being A1, all the way down through the unranked teams at D6. So with that, let's get started with the first week of ORCS, and we will be announcing the teams that will be in the D groups. And here are the teams in the D groups for ORCS: 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D, including Colorado College in ORCS 1A. This is a team that was in the D group at the Geneva ORCS last year and earned a bid to the championship tournament. We've got the Chippewas from Central Michigan University in ORCS 1C, competing in ORCS for what I believe is the first time ever. And you have the Dukes of Duquesne University in Group 1D. That's a team that went 8-0 at regionals this year. So here are the D groups for the first week of ORCS. And we will move on now to the C groups for the first week of ORCS, beginning with 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. And this includes Notre Dame A that went 8-0 at regionals, and also Maryland and Bellarmine went 8-0 at regionals. Some very strong teams here in the C groups, rounding out the C and D groups for the first week of ORCS. We will move on now to reveal the B groups for the first week of ORCS, and we will do these tournament by tournament. So again, we'll start here with ORCS Tournament 1A. Again, this is the first weekend of ORCS. The A tournament, the first of the 4 tournaments that week. You'll see there along the left side of your screen the teams that have been placed in the C and D groups for ORCS 1A. And your teams for the B group in ORCS 1A include the Virginia Cavaliers, B team, the B team from UC Berkeley, Hillsdale, Tennessee Chattanooga, Binghamton, and Arkansas. Those are your B group teams for ORCS 1A. Moving on now to ORCS 1B, you see the teams already assigned there on the left-hand side of your screen. And these include the Eagles of Boston College coming off the open bid list to top off the B group. You've got the B team entries from Alabama, Stanford, Boston University, and Wesleyan University, and the A team from Hamilton College. Moving on now to ORCS 1C. Again, we're dealing with the B group in ORCS 1C. And some more very strong B team entries from the Southeast here. We've got the Gators of Florida, the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech, the Duke Blue Devils, the A team from Washington and Lee, Michigan State A, and USC. These are the teams in the B group in ORCS 1C. And finishing up the B groups for the first week of ORCS in ORCS 1D. Got some strong A teams in this group. A team from Alabama, Illinois, Texas, American University, George Washington, and the Mules of Central Missouri, rounding out the B group in ORCS 1D. And now we're moving back to ORCS 1A, where we will go through and reveal the teams that will be topping off this tournament in the A group. And filling in the A6 slot in this tournament, we have the Aggies of UC Davis. In the A5 slot, we have the Rams of Fordham Lincoln Center. This is the A team of Fordham that went 8-0 at regionals. In the A4 slot, we have the Yellow Jackets of Rochester. In the A3 slot, the Jumbos of Tufts. In the A2 slot, the A team from Northwestern University, another 8-0 at regional team. And topping off ORCS 1A, we have the A team, number 1 on the team power ranking list from 2020, the Lynx of Rhodes College. So here to summarize, these are the 24 teams that are assigned to ORCS 1A. Moving on now to ORCS 1B. In the A6 slot, we have the Thunder of Wheaton College from Wheaton, Illinois. In A5, the Crimson of Harvard. In the A4 slot, the school that earned 5 bids to ORCS this year, the A team of the Florida Gators. In A3, we have the Bison of Howard University. In the A2 slot, we have the B team from Rhodes College. And topping off the A group here, number 3 on the team power ranking list, the Red Hawks of Miami University. So to recap, here are the 24 teams that form ORCS 1B. Or if I'm not mistaken, myself and AMTA Secretary Michael DiPolito will be serving as your AMTA representatives. Moving on now to ORCS 1C, in the A6 slot, we have the Cincinnati Bearcats. In the A5 slot, the Tritons of UC San Diego. This is the A team for San Diego that went 8-0 at regionals. In the A4 slot, the A team from NYU. In the A3 slot, the B team from Ohio State. A2, the Lions of Columbia. And the top team in the A1 slot, ORCS 1C, the Cavaliers of Virginia A, another 8-0 team at regionals. And so here are the 24 teams that will be competing in ORCS 1C. And then rounding out the first week of ORCS in ORCS 1D in the A6 slot, the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Followed up in the A5 slot by the Leopards of Lafayette. And in the A4 slot, the A team from Wesleyan University. In the A3 slot, we have the Terriers of Boston University. In the A2 slot, the A team from the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. And in the A1 slot in ORCS 1D, the Bruins of UCLA. And to round out the first week of ORCS, here are the 24 teams that will be competing in ORCS 1D. Moving on now to the second weekend of ORCS. Again, the format is, of course, the same as the first weekend. And again, make sure you stay tuned to the end of the announcements here for a very important announcement regarding all ORCS this year. So here are the D groups for the second week of ORCS. Starting with ORCS 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D, including Lehigh, competing at ORCS for what I believe is their first time. Santa Clara University that competed at the Geneva ORCS last year. I believe that was last year was their initial time competing at ORCS, and some strong A teams here in this group, including Colorado and Nebraska. Moving on now to the C groups for the second weekend of ORCS. We have the C group from ORCS 2A, the C group from 2B, C group for 2C, and the C group for 2D. So we'll head on to ORCS 2A now, the A tournament for the second weekend of ORCS, and we will reveal the teams that will be in the B group in ORCS 2A. And these include the University of Dayton, the Flyers that went 8-0 at regionals, along with Baylor, the B team from University of Chicago, the B teams from Tufts and NYU, and the B team from Penn State. In the 2B ORCS, again, the teams that we've already revealed to be in ORCS 2B are on the left-hand side of your screen. The B group in ORCS 2B includes the B teams from Yale, UC Irvine, and Emory, the A team from William and Mary, University of Washington Huskies, and the Northern Illinois Huskies. In the C tournament, the second weekend of ORCS, our B group teams include the Rams of Cornell College, the A team from Wash U in St. Louis, the Xavier Musketeers, the Iowa Hawkeyes, the McAllister Scots, and the Tennessee Volunteers. And finishing up the B groups from the second weekend of ORCS in ORCS 2D. We have the A team from Brown University, along with the A teams from the Florida State Seminoles and the Arizona State Sun Devils, along with the B teams from Georgia, Georgetown, and Michigan. And now time to reveal the A groups for the second weekend of ORCS, starting with ORCS 2A. In the A6 slot from Greenville, South Carolina, the Paladins of Furman. And also from the southeast part of the country in the A5 slot, we have the Bulldogs of Georgia A. In the A4 slot, the Georgetown Hoyas. In the A3 slot, we have the Blue Devils of Duke University. In the A2 slot, we have the Golden Bears of Cal. And in the A1 slot, number 2 on the Team Power Rankings from 2020, the Bulldogs of Yale A. And these are the 24 teams that we have assigned to compete at ORCS 2A. Moving on now to reveal the A group in ORCS 2B. In the A6 slot, we have the Gamecocks of the University of South Carolina. In the A5 slot, we have the B team from the Bruins of UCLA. In the A4 slot, it's the Indiana Hoosiers. Next is their Big Ten colleague, the Wolverines of Michigan A. In A2, we have the Stanford Cardinal. This is the Stanford A team. And in the A1 slot in ORCS 2B, we have the Big Red of Cornell University from Ithaca, New York. And these are the 24 teams that will be competing for 6 bids to the championship in ORCS 2B. Time now to reveal the A group from ORCS 2C. In slot A6, we have the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Another Big Ten rival in the A5 slot, it's the Nittany Lions of Penn State A. A4 is the Timberwolves of Northwood University. A3, the Anteaters of UC Irvine A. In the A2 slot, we have the Eagles of Emory University. And the A1 slot in ORCS 2C, the Maroons of Chicago A. So this group of teams forms ORCS 2C. So that's 7 ORCS down, 1 to go. So it's time to reveal the top teams that will be competing in ORCS 2D. And in the A6 slot, we have the B team from the Northwestern Wildcats. In the A5 slot, undefeated at regionals, the A team from the Gauchos of UC Santa Barbara. A4 is the B team from Cornell University. A3, 8-0 at regionals, True Grit, the Retrievers of Maryland, Baltimore County. In the A2 slot, undefeated at regionals, the A team from the Sentinels of Patrick Henry College. And the A1 slot in ORCS 2D, the last team to be revealed, the Buckeyes of Ohio State A. And these are the final 24 teams that will be competing at ORCS in ORCS 2D. And all of these will be going live on the AMTA website shortly on the earn bid lists, as well as charts showing the group designations for you to refer to leading up to and during your ORCS weekends. Now, AMTA started ORCS in 2009, so this is the 12th or 13th year, if I'm doing that quick mental math correctly, that we have been using ORCS as part of our tournament structure. But up to this point, every ORCS tournament always only had 2 scoring ballots, like every regional tournament. And recently, the AMTA board met to discuss this. Given the fact that we have a very unique circumstance this year with nationwide judging pools, looking at how we did with judge recruitment across all of our 32 regional tournaments, I am happy to announce that we have authorized there to be more than 2 scoring ballots at ORCS for the first time in AMTA history. We are very, very close on our judge recruitment numbers to being able to hit that 3 judge per round number. So on our social media channels, you've probably seen that we've been putting out calls for judges to volunteer. So to the extent that you know anyone who would be willing to volunteer to judge our ORCS tournaments, that's certainly very helpful, because again, we're very, very close to hitting that threshold where we would feel very, very comfortable saying that every single ORCS round, both the first weekend and the second weekend, we'll have 3 scoring ballots per round. If we can do more than that, we will, but certainly, there's always judges who don't show up at the last minute, and we want to make sure that we are adequately prepared for that. So the anticipation is that we hope to have 3 scoring ballots per round at every single one of these ORCS tournaments over the next 2 weekends. And we certainly hope that that will make the results more accurate, the same way that we think they have been at the national championship tournament since 2013, when we changed the national championship tournament to allow more than 2 scoring ballots per round. So we hope you find that is a positive change moving forward with our ORCS tournaments. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me or AMTA President Brandon Harper. Again, all of these assignments will be live on the website very shortly. I look forward to seeing folks at the tournament where I will be serving as an AMTA representative, and I hope to get around to some of the other tournaments, as I know AMTA President Brandon Harper will as well. Unless President Harper has any closing remarks, there's President Harper.
I just want to say thank you, Jonathan. I think this was fun. I know teams were excited to see where they're going to be competing. I will echo Jonathan's call for judges. If we are able to have more than 2 scoring ballots in our ORCS tournaments, we will do so. We want to be able to do so, but we will only make that call if we're comfortable based on where the numbers are. And we will become comfortable if we see additional people volunteer, raise their hand, and sign up and tell us that they would like to judge. So thank you, Jonathan. Thanks to everybody for watching. And I send you all my best wishes for the competition at ORCS, and I hope to see you all virtually very soon.
Good luck, everyone. Good night.